Good morning. I will call the Committee of the Whole meeting for January 17th to order, and I will turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. We do have two requests this morning. Obviously, this is a Committee of the Whole, and if you want to proceed, we do have it on the agenda. Otherwise, we can take it off the agenda for the following meeting. But time is a little bit of the essence. That's why we're bringing it forward to you now. So the first item that we have is it's for Eagle View aerial pictometry. And what that is, it's a 3D high resolution aerial photography that they have. And they do the flyovers. They usually take about 130 planes in Minnesota to do the flyovers. And with that, we're looking to see if the board would allow us to get it. And just looking at it from an assessing department standpoint, I guess we've had a little bit of a revolving door. A lot of staff are getting trained in, and they're taking off to Dakota County or other counties that have this that allow a lot more flexibility, I guess, in terms of schedule and whether they need to come in or they can sit at home and do it or just come into the office and do their work. So this is one thing that we find out that other departments are kind of enticing others to come from Goodhue and to their county and stuff. So we took a closer look at it at this time. And that's why, so we did have a guy come in from Eagle View, and he gave us a demonstration of it, and I think a lot of us seem very interested in it. It seems somewhat easy to use, I guess. So with that, it does give you the size, the pitch, the area, topography of the structures, and the flyover. You can see on the second page kind of what that looks like with the images of the houses. The real nice thing about this too is you can click on the bottom of you can see the structure is, whether it's a single story, two-story, whether it's a church or whatever the case is. You can measure the height of the buildings on this, which is something that we don't relatively have the capability of doing with ease. So that would be a great asset to us. The other nice thing about this software, it's not just for the assessing department, it's for 911, it's for the sheriff's department, it's for engineering. There's basically, he said there used to be 250, I don't want to say site licenses, but ways for people to get in. He said with Hennepin County and Ramsey County now there's basically unlimited because those counties are so big. And not only that, it's not only for our own county use, but we can also let other jurisdictions use it. So if there's other fire departments out in the rural area that want to use it, we can give them access to it and stuff too. EMS, water, soil, other departments and stuff that might be able to benefit from that as well. So you can measure the heights of buildings. You're able to do that. The other thing is that's nice. We heard a couple positive comments from land use even too. If you measure the distance of something, so say you're measuring across a ditch, we just had that discussion recently. This will actually it'll actually take the topography into account. So instead of saying, oh, it's 100 feet from here to here, well, once you go down the ditch and back up the ditch, it's going to tell you it's 250 feet. So it helps you for that aspect. Here's how much material you're going to need maybe to either fill in the ditch or to provide grass cover or whatever that case is too. So that was another benefit to it. And again, the pixels, it has a unit that I've never came across before, GSD. That basically stands for ground sample distance, which is a metric used for pictometry and measurements of aerial photography and mapping. So I think if you just get the concept of it, it basically can either be like 1, 3, or 6 inch is what they come across as. So 6 inch would be your fuzziest or not your highest resolution. 3 inches much better, and then 1 inch is extremely clear. Now they'll do it in the 6 inch. We can upgrade to the 3 inch if we wanted to. A lot of times what some communities will do is upgrade to the 3 inch and high density areas where you have a lot of buildings, shadows, things like that. So then when you zoom in, you don't lose that pixelation. And so another way to think about this is that's anywhere between 15 to 30 pictures per square foot. So as a plane is flying over, the 3 inch would be more towards the 30 per square foot, if you will, whereas the 6 inch would be more towards the 15 images per square foot. And so this does have the ability to obviously for us to do, or for Levon's team to do some of their work from home remotely, out in the field on your phone. So say you're the department, you get a 911 phone call, you have to go out somewhere, you can dial it up on your squad thing, you can look on your phone, you can actually do it, make sure you have the right address. You know, you can circle around the building. Does this have, you know, exits, doors, windows on the back side, front side, whatever the case is? That might be hard. So you can do that from the mobile command unit that we're going to get. You can do that from your phone. You can do that from the EOC. Maybe if you have more time to take a look at a building too, but instead of just looking straight down, which is all we have the capability of doing now, you can take a look at it and go around and so on and so forth. And then you can click on other properties and say, okay, who owns this? Who owns this? You know, make sure that we get the right building as you're either approaching something or not. So it has that capability. It also has a capability to integrate with our Tyler camera system that we're getting. If you recall, you approved that, and that's going to be, we're working on that right now. So it has, you know, you can transfer data into the Tyler system from this as well. It also integrates with GIS, E911 CAD, and Autodesk systems as well. And currently Brian, who is on here, he manages this for Dodge County right now. They have it. And if you look on the third page, you can see that there are currently 76 other counties that currently have this. So I would say it must be a pretty decent system. But yes, Dodge County does have that, and Brian manages it. So it's not going to be anything necessarily new for us to manage, and it should be managed out of the GIS department. So we won't be managing, you know, the back side of it, if you will. We'll just be using the interface part of it for what we need to do. So we think it'll save on gas trips out there. If somebody calls and has a question, obviously we probably have pictures of the property from being out there, but it'll also allow us to go on here and take a look at it too, with conversations over the phone as well. So hopefully we can answer their questions without saying, you know, we'll have to get back to you or something like that. So we think it's going to provide better quality service. The integration. And then the other one too was they will fly over if there's an F4 tornado should happen to go through, they'll fly over that for free and then give us the data within 48 hours usually is what it takes, as long as they can get planes up in the sky. However, if there's something, say an F3, like we had straight line winds and tornado touchdowns like 4 years ago, not sure what category, but there was quite a bit of damage. A swath of it came from my area and stuff all the way over. If we wanted to fly over, they could mobilize that for us and do that in relatively quick time at the same time, you know. So that was another benefit. We would have to pay for that. That one wasn't free, but anything like an F4 or higher would be free, or if there's flooding or some other natural disaster that we wanted them to take a look at. The other option, the other one that comes with it too, is a change finder. So what this does is, the first year, obviously we don't need a change finder because we don't have any data from the previous years. But moving forward in 2 years, if you take another picture, it'll take a look at the aerials and I'll say, oh, it looks like you maybe added a deck, maybe you did something, maybe something came down, like at the house in Goodhue that we forfeited. A lot of people are saying, well, did that have 2 garages on it? And we go out there and take a look, and no, there were no garages on there. But if that's the case, then maybe the individual's property taxes would be reduced now that individual passed away. But anyways, so it can work kind of both ways. It'll tell us, it'll alert us and put it into a log saying, you may want to take a closer look at this property. It looks like something has changed on the property. And so it'll alert us to go ahead and do that, so we can have the most updated records and information within our system.
And that's included in the cost, or is that an extra?
That'll be that'll be with the second flyover, because there's nothing to compare to now.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
so that would be included in the next one. So that is an upgrade for that to happen and stuff. So on page 3, I'm not going to go through all of the benefits there, but you can again see all of our current departments that could utilize this. And again, once we get it, it's free for everybody to use. And then including other jurisdictions if we wanted to, whether it's an agreement or just an understanding or something for other jurisdictions within the county to use that are not currently underneath us. They can also utilize that. So
It looks like everybody around us has it anyway.
They do.
They do, and I'm sure
They have had for years.
I can't read, is it McLeod County that doesn't have it, or what's the one that's kind of northwest of us?
kind of looks like it, doesn't it?
What's that right there?
Looks like
Yeah.
McLeod.
Yeah, it's Cloud County. Not that that's important, but yes.
It would appear that this would be quite a bit more efficient. And I don't know if you know from other counties how
They
much.
they definitely use it as a tool.
Yeah, but you can't speak to the magnitude of the efficiencies that come from it.
I cannot, I guess I did not ask them to kind of
Okay.
give me, they've had it for years, so they've been using it as a tool for years. and,
Right, right.
And they definitely.
And then I wondered, I think oftentimes homeowners aren't home and you don't get to go into the house. And so will this substitute for what going out and looking around or not?
Well, I see using it as, there's an awful lot of outbuildings that are very hard to measure, especially if there's
Mhm.
animals around. We do not get close to them because we do not want to be accused of,
Right.
any biohazard type of things. And so one of the things is we definitely we currently use the aerial photos, but story height also gives us an idea. How high is that actual building? Is it for machine shed or for commercial buildings? Those type of things really.
Well, it looks like you can see how good a shape the building's in on the
Correct.
outside quite easily.
Which, of course, if we don't get inside of a building, it still,
Mhm.
tells the whole story there. But definitely a lot of advantages of having this, and all the counties around us definitely use it as a tool. So they've kind of harassed me for years, wondering why we don't have it. So, but basically, yeah, we would be definitely using it as a tool. I would think that it should be able to save on trips, especially when taxpayers call in and say, well, I got rid of this building and we haven't, been able to see it. The other thing is we do have cabins in woods. We used to tromps through and actually go measure them, and if we knew about them, but this will help us find them
Mhm.
and see things a little clearer as well. So
Can, some of the pictures you see, can they actually do the pictures from here that we use on our field cards? Can we take pictures off of here, like a street view, and use it rather than us taking the pictures?
So I have not asked that. There are some counties around us that actually have an upgrade beyond this. There's another software that actually drives by and takes street views as well, kind of like your Google view,
Right.
kind of that type of a thing. By law, we're supposed to step foot on every property or view every property every 5 years. There are some counties who have been able to use those different softwares to do that. So as far as getting an aerial, using this instead of actually going out and snapping a picture of the homes, I don't know that quite yet.
He said to that point, law enforcement, or maybe even and Aaron could correct me if I'm wrong too, but they'll use images from this to bring to court to make their case.
And I've had some deputies call me and ask for our pictures, because sometimes we have private pictures where there might be toys in the backyard or those type of things where we don't have public. And so they've asked what kind of pictures we have, and we've sent them because they must go out for search warrants or whatever. So there's definitely a need for the deputies even to be able to get into buildings.
And then if we went with this is not public. The
That
public can't go in and view.
is a good question, because I think that's up to how we want to handle it. Maybe Brian can actually say how Dodge uses theirs.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if they actually make it all public. Brian, are you available to answer that question?
Yeah, so Dodge has theirs locked down on passwords and things like that. You could make it publicly available, just like any of our viewers that we have right now for GIS. But since this is a little bit more, it's not complicated, but there's at least a little bit of this is how you use this. We wouldn't suggest it go to the public just because it's a little bit confusing. But with that being said, it's not used publicly on Dodge.
I kind of figured it wasn't for public use.
Right.
I mean,
Well,
Street
that's
View or Google Earth or whatever, where you can actually, that's all public. But I would not think this would be. I think it would be for internal use.
I would think so. but
And that's what I think Dean mentioned, the guy who came in and did their demonstration for us, is the majority of it is not
Okay.
it's not the intent.
Because I know there's been questions about us putting stuff out that has cars in it with license numbers with whatever. Well,
Right.
if we keep it internal, then that's not
An issue.
an issue. So
Right. And we try to be very conscientious of
I know.
what we put on our records, so
I exactly know that.
that would make a lot
I
of
have
sense.
I have a question. When you say it goes and it works with GIS, will GIS still be there? Or this is gonna totally replace it?
So when they fly over,
Mhm.
and I guess I can't answer that, I guess you and Brian maybe have more answer there, but when they do the flyover, one of them is the straight down image that we currently have, and then the rest are all these different cameras going at different angles, and they do these different zipping around and getting the different angles through all those different cameras. Do you,
No, Brian could probably answer that, but GIS will still be there. I mean, they'll still use ArcView, ArcFinder, whatever ARC system they have for a lot of what they want to use. But I know when talking with some members of land use and stuff, they made it because a couple of them were in on the demonstration. They like the fact that if you measure from point A to point B, it takes in the topography and stuff like that too. So I think a lot of them thought that was, from writing a report and so on and so forth, they thought that was going to be rather useful. There's quite a few things. So we're not taking anything away from the system. It's only going to enhance, but this is going to make it much more user friendly for us, because without Brian going in and manipulating all this data and everything, we still only have a view that's looking down, not at an angle. So we're still limited. No matter what we do.
I don't see this as replacing what we
No,
currently
no.
do. I see it as enhancing what we currently do, which doesn't work well. It works, but doesn't work well for
It helps measure
the
the-
assessing side of things.
structure, one, flats, but if it's the height and different things that are hard to get to.
I think, part of what, and I know I have found structures that have changed over time and said, hey, what's going on here? And the idea to be able to just find all the changes that happen over a 2-year period in your county to know, okay, yep, we did those were permitted. Nope, this is not permitted. To be equitable in applying, assessing, you need to be
Right.
catching all of them. I see that as a system that will help catch that. Even to the point of septics that get put in probably without permits, because it will catch that mound that got put in the backyard. So I see it as a tool to address some shortcomings in the system we currently have and saving time.
Do you
I mean-
think this will improve, make record keeping easier, harder, or have no impact?
I guess I'm looking at it as an additional tool, so we are more fair and equitable, so we're catching all those extra structures. A lot of people do things without permits,
Sure.
and
But I thought
is it
it-
gonna save some time?
would
I
think
definitely hope when it comes to appealing and, the phone calls, instead of maybe actually having to go back out and remeasure and do things, it will help us be able to access things.
It isn't part of the individual taxpayer's record though, as far as assessing, or it is?
Well, we're going to use that data as part of their record, absolutely, the dimensions off those structures. One of the things that our system does is we look at the heights of different buildings, and that will help us determine, is it going to be more of a machine shed or a shop or those type of things. For personal use, for business purposes, that definitely helps us also, because our commercial structures go off of the whole cubic area. So it's overall something we're out there trying to laser right now and try to eye up, what they really are. It's gonna be one of the pieces.
Well, as some of you recall too, I think it was about 2 or 3 years ago at a local board of appeal. So there was a condo unit, and they were contemplating, gee, my little deck area is covered. Well, I think my neighbor's is. Well, no, it's not. And and gee, the height and what floor they're on. So this will help if we wanted to bring that up while people are talking to refresh their memory. Yes, yours is covered, this yours is not, and that's why yours is higher than this one. And so I think it would help clarify that right on the spot too, during the local board of appeal and equalization meetings.
You talked about it in some counties, possibly replacing putting your foot on the ground for assessing. I see that as many years down after we've gotten used to this and figured it out, not next year if we did it. I would see that being farther down to speed up that process. I think you have to get used to it and understand it and figure out what it can do, can't do, exactly what you need to still get out there and evaluate. And,
And policies and procedures have
Yep.
to be developed.
Yep.
Absolutely.
yep, so I would support it. And like I said, I don't think it's gonna replace anything we're doing with LiDAR and with the flyover. That has its own function over here. This has a different function, and together they will be a big advantage.
So if you want, I can quickly go over the cost of it, or say that for later. Go, keep going. All right, so if we did a flyover right now, and from what we heard, Minnesota really has the most limited window of opportunity once the snow leaves the ground to when the leaves are getting back on the trees and everything, they need to get right in there and do that. So we could do a flyover for the spring of 23 this year. The total cost, what we're proposing, this would be the 6-inch, would be 110,000, but that can be split up between the 2 years. And then the other quick item that we were looking to add, and I thought the number was going to be bigger, but given the funding source we're looking for, would be to have the rights or licenses to the MLS that you can see in the 4th page there, this second little paragraph. And this will help with, once sales are made, sales verification, so we don't have to make nearly as many phone calls, hopefully, on, why did you buy it and why didn't you buy it, and so on and so forth. We can see all the data in the back the public can't see. So that'll help us save on the phone calls and, why are you calling me type of thing. So that is relatively, in my mind, inexpensive, I guess, for 6 licenses to start out with that. So the total cost would be approximately, again, for the 6-inch would be the $57,745. He did not give me a contract. He said he was going to do that on Thursday. I still haven't quite. I've seen different iterations, and we've gone back and forth. This is kind of where we ended up. So this is a real close ballpark figure from what I've seen, quite honestly, but we'd still like it approved today with that number in mind. So basically the funding source would be the unallocated fund balance, which there's a lot of funds left over from Levon's department, quite honestly. And we're looking at a 56.5 fund balance ratio again by the end of 22, going into 23. So we're looking to see if we could use the funds out of there instead of doing the carryover, which we don't like to do for operating, because otherwise every department's going to want everything carried over that they didn't use, which doesn't make any sense. Just let it go to that and ask if we can use those funds out of there. And then in the meantime, too, we can come back. We would invite and Chad had a lot of interest in this too from the sheriff's department. And then Jess and other departments come back in and see how we can, get them set up once we get the data. Should go from there. So
I have a question. Did you check on what the 3-inch costs?
I did check on the 3-inch cost, and the 3-inch cost, if we wanted to do it it'd be another $25,000, which would be split out over the 2 years. And we would only do that in the Red Wing, Cannon Falls, and Zumbrota areas were the areas. So we could do it in more, but they like to do it in a 6 square mile area. So yes, it would be nice if we had it right now. So when we do the change finder in a couple of years, or if we want to use that data, especially when we're looking at buildings, especially you can take a look and see the buildings around Red Wing. It would be nice to do that. And I think, well, there is the money available to go ahead and do that. And then we would work it into the operating budget thereafter. But my first thing is to really get this off the ground. If you want to get it off the ground and you want to do the 3, we can definitely work that into the agreement. And yes, we did have numbers in there approximately what I just said.
Given the topography of like Red Wing, especially Red Wing, having a 3-inch is going to be much
Especially when you go to zoom in.
usable than a
Especially
6-inch. I think it will make a big difference when you're flying a very.
Right. I think so too. And I'm taking a look at it from a public safety standpoint when the sheriff's department can go ahead and use it at the same time too. It's not just us benefiting from that, but yes, I mean, I think it'd be worth it doing it now, but.
To me, it seems like a pretty reasonable cost for a lot of information and a lot of potential efficiencies, and also maybe making some of the assessors happier to stay in Goodhue County,
Right.
which are all good things.
And then just a question. So when you're looking at MLS listing, you'll be able then to go in and look at how a property was listed, how it was regular MLS.
My understanding is we'll be able to view their notes and things. We won't be able to make any changes, but we'll be able to see was the comments, the house was just totally remodeled and, basement finished, those type of things, or was it a trashed house? We're missing some things by not getting into these homes. And so if we don't see those listings, we're making that phone call. A lot of people don't really want to divulge a lot of information to us.
So that would, the photos that are on a MLS listing, you'd be able to see those.
That definitely helps. We'd be able to see those, but the comments,
Then
'cause we can see a lot of them online, but they take them off a lot of times.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as it sells. So, and there's a lag there by the time it gets to the recorder's office and makes its way to us. And then we actually do those sales calls. There's a big lag in there. So what we're trying to do is be more efficient, save staff time by calling and then have to sit around and wait to see if they'll call us back. And then 3 weeks later, they finally call us back. Or never call us back. And then we're also, part of that is we are graded on our, how fast we turn around our sales. It compares to the rest of the counties. And that report goes to legislatures and everything. So if we can keep them sales moving and turning them around quicker, it just makes Goodhue County look better.
It makes all sense in the world to do that.
Jason?
Yeah, and maybe I'm misinterpreting what you have, but I mean, obviously you say you applied this and said it's a tool. I hope I'm not misinterpreting that you're assuming or we're anticipating that we're going to be more efficient at doing everything and I support it, but somebody comes to me and says, I want a $65,000 tool. You better be really efficient with that on an annual basis. I'm hoping that you will be able to tell us here over the course of the year, the next year yet, our assessing department is more efficient. We've been more capable. We've gotten a lot more done. This has assisted us tremendously. Maybe we can cut staff. Maybe staff is not leaving. I don't know, but you're asking for a $65,000 piece of equipment, same as Public Works. I need a new truck to do this for 10 hours to, need new survey equipment. So I think you got a plan. It's good. I support it, but hopefully, like, we're going to see some end results that this is
Like
going
the
to benefit.
No, and I've asked the same questions, quite honestly, but if somebody jumps in a vehicle to drive out to the Kenyon area, there you have 45 minutes each, I've asked the same questions. Is it gonna pay
Well, I
dollar for
don't know
dollar?
your day-to-day of doing that, and I hope that you're not jumping in the truck just to drive to Kenyon area just to view one property because somebody's got a
Right.
itch, but yes, I get it. Like I said, I don't think I'm misinterpreting, but you're saying that it is a tool, but hopefully we'll be able to utilize this to its fullest extent and
It's gonna take a
save the
little
taxpayer.
learning,
I get that, but
I really think the advantages are gonna come the second time you do a
Oh,
flyover.
absolutely.
And
Yeah,
when
the
you
change
get-
finder's gonna definitely
When
help
you
us
get
find.
two,
um,
when you get the comparison,
Yeah.
that's gonna make,
and we're
that's gonna be where you're
utilize-
gonna be able to see what that program can actually deliver.
Right.
It's 2 years down the road.
So this first year, we're definitely gonna be out in kind of the Chester, Belvedere, those kind of areas, but Red Wing is second up. And so that will be a very important year for us to be able to help.
so if I got to do
Utilize some
anything,
of
do it
that.
before the flyover.
Mhm.
So if I'm going to change anything, do it before the
Do that
flyover.
right.
And then put it back on after.
Do you need just consensus?
So this is on the regular agenda?
It is.
Yeah, so we
So
can
if we
follow
wanted
up.
to do the 3-inch over the areas, we'd have to add that.
You could add that. You could just give me the direction and just approve that we go into an agreement with that. And Administrator Arnson or I will execute that.
Thank you.
Good
Thank you.
information.